All right, so it's time for an eBay unboxing. We'll do it in fast motion. But I am doing this, I'm documenting this for a reason, because the seller accepted my offer that was so low that it was like too unbelievable. So I'm afraid there's lint in here. All right, let's do it in fast motion. Okay, so September 14th, 1975, this saint was canonized in the Catholic Church. This looks actually really legit that it probably came from the Vatican and was most likely made in 1975 when she was canonized. And here we go. This is a first-class relic. It's actually really quite beautiful. I have it upside down. And there we go. Do you see that? Now, it says St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. It's in this beautiful golden theca with, like, I love this glittery backdrop over here, all right? Now, it's very hard to tell if you have an ex ossibus, which would be a bone, or a corpore, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, or ex carne, which both would be of the flesh, but it's one of those three. And so let's open actually the back of the theca to make sure it has the real wax seal stamp stating that this is a genuine article, because the seller accepted my lowball offer that was so low it wasn't even funny. Now, they don't sell these things, these sort of things, and so they might not be educated on it, but they knew it was a relic. And what do we have here? Okay, Scotch tape over the wax seal. I don't like that, but it looks like the seal was not broken. Now, in the picture, they did not show the wax seal, so I took a chance on this. But yes, what is that? Is that like a hair? Wait, let's zoom in on that. Oh no, it's a part of the tape. All right, I don't like the fact that there's tape over this. Is there a way to get this off? I don't know, that's sort of dumb. Let's first look at the seal before I possibly destroy it by pulling the tape off. Okay, so I carefully got the tape off. I think the tape was there actually to protect the seal, and somebody didn't want dirt or anything to go over it, but this was not tampered with, and this is telling me this is not a fake. There are a lot of fakes out there. You really got to be careful. I can tell this is definitely authentic wax seal from a postulator general. Now, there's first class, second class, and third class. And what is the difference? The first class comes from the body of the saint. Second class comes from something, maybe, for example, like something they touched, like a Bible, a pen, a chalice. It could be their stockings, a piece of their shoe, a piece of their vestment, and so on. Third class is if I take this first class relic and touch it to some object, this becomes a third class relic. Now you guys are educated. And so let's look. The wax seals were not messed with. Okay, and everything is legit. Okay, so this little case was most likely given out during the canonization, this relic in this case, to probably a priest, without a doubt, in probably 1975. And so let's find out more about St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, and let's find out the significance behind her. She is the saint of actually education, I believe. Isn't there a school called Seton Hall or something like that? She was very actually well known for creating a lot of schools. The more I look at this, the more I think this is an ex ossibus, which would be the bone. I got my loop out. It definitely looks like an ossibus. Now, what's really cool about this is it has pearls going around the rim. I don't know if you can see the pearls, but oh, there they are. You see the pearls going around the rim? That is just really beautiful. I did not notice that. So besides the sparklies, let's take a look. Besides the sparklies, we got pearls. I don't know if you can see that going around the rim of this. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put this in a reliquary, and then we're going to do a cutaway, and we'll find out we'll watch some interesting videos together about the life of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Okay, so I'm going to take all these rose petals that you see here and Russian sage, and I'm going to turn it into a third-class relic. So, oh, this just fell off. And, yeah, so I'm going to touch these to all the rose petals. And I'm going to put them in prayer cards. And then these roses are going to be blessed by St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. And so you can do this yourself on your own. And you can actually venerate your saint by making prayer cards. I'll show you how to do that in another video. But as you can see here, I'm touching the rose petals to Elizabeth Ann Seton's first class relic. And now all these rose petals are blessed and third class, which is really quite cool. As you can see, I collected quite a bit of them. And I made sure every single one of them is being touched by Elizabeth Ann Seton's first class relic. Okay, so it started to rain. I placed it in this beautiful reliquary with purple backing. You can see the purple velvet. And all right, let's go find out more about Saint Elizabeth Ann Seton.
Saint Elizabeth Ann Seton is one of the keystones of the American Catholic Church. She founded the first American religious community for women, the Sisters of Charity. She opened the first American parish school and established the first American Catholic orphanage. All this she did in the span of 46 years while raising her 5 children. Elizabeth was born in 1774, just 2 years before the United States itself was born. She was the daughter of a wealthy Episcopalian family in New York City. Her mother taught little Elizabeth when she was just a child about the prayers and laid the foundation of her faith. At the age of 3, Elizabeth's mother died, and she was left with her father, Dr. Richard Bailey. When Dr. Bailey remarried, Elizabeth's stepmother continued lessons about the Episcopalian faith and God. Also educated by her father, Elizabeth learned from his great virtue to serve the poor of the community. From a young age, Elizabeth could be found bringing food to those less fortunate than herself. Beautiful, vivacious, fluent in French, a fine musician, and an accomplished horsewoman, she grew up and became a popular guest at parties and balls. Small wonder young William Seton, a handsome and wealthy businessman, fell head over heels in love with her. They were soon married and became parents of 5 children. Besides looking after her husband and family, Elizabeth established an organization in New York City called the Widows' Society. She and other members daily visited the poor in their homes to nurse and comfort them. Little did Elizabeth know that she would soon become a widow, and with her children, face sad and difficult times. The Seton family's shipping business went bankrupt when many ships were lost at sea during wars. To make matters worse, William Seton became seriously ill with tuberculosis, which was a dreaded killer in those days. The couple and their oldest daughter, Anna, moved to sunny Italy, where William hoped to regain his health. In spite of their best efforts, William died 2 days after Christmas in Pisa at the age of 37. She wept, then reproached herself for behaving as though God were not present. After William's death, Elizabeth and her daughter remained with William's longtime friends, the Felici family, until the spring of 1804. While waiting to return to America, Elizabeth attended the churches of her Italian friends, where she experienced the Catholic faith. They took Elizabeth to Florence, where the churches overwhelmed her, and the devotion of the common people impressed her. She began attending Mass with her friends and witnessed people's belief in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. Eventually, Elizabeth returned to New York City, determined to become a Catholic. In 1805, having completed instructions in her new faith, Elizabeth was received into the church. She was happy to be a Catholic, but her family of devout Episcopalians was dead set against Elizabeth's decision. At that time, unlike today, people were often very intolerant of other religions. Elizabeth's close relatives chose to forget that they had ever known her and would not lend her money or help pay her bills. She was now a destitute widow with no means to care for her children. It was almost impossible to make ends meet. Elizabeth had to work night and day to make a simple living for her children. She started a school, but that soon closed when students would not come to class simply because their teacher was a Catholic. These months of trial deepened Elizabeth's faith, but also deepened her financial difficulties. A priest in Baltimore, Maryland, learned of Elizabeth's plight and invited her to begin a girls' school in that city. At the time, public schools charged tuition and were only available to the elite of the society. Through the vision of Archbishop Carroll, Elizabeth established a Catholic school which was open to all, free of cost, and focused on the poor and impoverished. Women came to help Elizabeth, and the school grew. Soon, it seemed obvious that God was asking Elizabeth to dedicate her life completely to Him. This was the beginning of the Order of Sisters that Elizabeth founded. Father de Bourgh gave her the title of Mother. Indeed, the title was especially appropriate for Elizabeth. Some of her own children were still at the stone house with her, and she was now the superior of the women who joined the order. As in earlier years with the Widow Society, Elizabeth continued to visit the sick and the poor of the neighborhood. The sisters brought them medicine, food, and clothes, cleaned their homes, cared for the children, and offered kind words of encouragement. Life for the religious community was difficult. The sisters had little income, and their housing was sparse. The cold winters took their toll, but the work prospered with Elizabeth at the helm. By the next year, they were placed in charge of an orphanage in Philadelphia. The Sisters of Charity began establishing orphanages and hospitals across the United States and continued teaching the poor through parochial education. Tuberculosis ravaged the community. Anna, Elizabeth's oldest daughter, contracted the disease and died. Rebecca, the youngest daughter, too died in her mother's arms in 1816 when she was only 14 years old. Elizabeth, too, was losing her own battle with tuberculosis. The trials of separation from her children, conflict, and death had worn on her. The night of her death, January 4th, 1821, she began the prayers for the dying herself, and one of the sisters, knowing that she loved French, prayed the Gloria and the Magnificent in French with her. Early in the morning, on January 4th, 1821, Saint Elizabeth died peacefully. In 1959, Pope John XXIII declared Mother Seton a venerable, and in 1963, a blessed. Then, on September 14th, 1975, Pope Paul VI named Elizabeth Seton Saint of the Church. She had no extraordinary gifts. She was not a mystic or stigmatic. She did not prophesy or speak in tongues. She had two great devotions: abandonment to the will of God and an ardent love for the Blessed Sacrament.
All right, so here she is in her reliquary. And we learned a lot about St. Elizabeth Ann Seton tonight. Okay, and if you want actually a third-class relic, by the way, I make these cards by touching them to multiple first-class relics that I have over 30-something of them, first-class, of very, very famous saints, such as St. Therese, St. Pope Pius X. We have St. Anthony, right there, St. Anthony. We also have, oh my goodness, St. Maria Goretti. We have St. Paul of the Cross. We have St. Rita. We have St. Who's back there? Oh, St. Teresa of Avila. Vila. I can't pronounce that right. St. John Newman. Oh my God, multiple. Contact me through my main page on YouTube. You'll see contact me through Etsy. And then you can send me a private message. I will just have to charge you for whatever it costs to make the card and for postage. But I'm not going to be making any kind of profit off of this. So thanks for watching. And I will see you guys all soon on the next Saint unveiling from eBay.